Late Night Health continues. I'm Mark Alyn. I've been talking about this all throughout the show, the Tombot. Growing up, I had a dog. Did you have a dog growing up, Daryl?
We had, a couple. We had an Australian Shepherd that we had for like 2 weeks, but it was completely out of control. And it ripped the laundry off the lines in the back of the house. We used to hang out laundry. And,
and your mom sent it to the farm?
Yeah, it went away. And then my sister bought a small, I think it was like a German Shepherd or something at the swap meet. We called it the $12 swap meet dog.
Oh, my God.
And she had it for 2 or 3 years. So, yeah, we had a couple of dogs in the house growing up.
And then last but not least, Henry... No dogs? No dogs. Okay, in China, no dogs. I grew up, we had one dog, and the first dog, it was white, and it was so active, my dad had to give it away. And he said it went to live on a farm. I don't believe that.
Which is a euphemism for something, yeah.
Yeah, and I hated that. As I got older, I realized. But it was... it was digging up the yard. It was knocking my younger sisters down. Then I was about 16 and a half or 17, and somebody in high school gave me a birthday present. And it turned out to be an Offen pincher. And Tom Stevens, I'm telling this story to set up the Tombot, so bear with me. It was an Offen pincher, which is a German rat dog. And she was the ugliest dog you've ever seen. She was sweet and gentle, but it took months and months and months for us to get to know her.
No, and later in life, I did adopt a racing greyhound and had that for like 4 or 5 years. And what a great dog that was.
Yeah. Oh, I love
Fabulous
those too.
dog.
I love those dogs. But so she'd been mistreated and we really got to know and love her. My father, who was against it, he grew up in Brooklyn, and they didn't have dogs in Brooklyn at the time. He grew up, when it was time to put the dog down, he wanted to hold her while they put her down. And, of course, the vet said, no, that's not appropriate. And he was very upset about that. So we go to Tom Stevens, and we're going to talk about the Tombot. Tom, welcome to Late Night Health.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Sure. Do you have a dog at home?
I do. I have a 5-year-old rescue, affectionately known as a megamutt, who's been a family member for about 4.5 of his 5 years, and he makes, like your stories, he's an integral member of our family.
Yeah, she was too. The studies, I did a video a couple of years ago interviewing Dr. Michelle Roth about having pets for seniors, and there is some connection there that just makes people happy. I remember my uncle having 2 or 3 Chihuahuas, and he loved these dogs. I don't think he ever bathed the dogs, but that's another story. But they kept him happy. Have you done any research to see the connection between especially seniors and living pets?
Absolutely. There's a tremendous amount of data there. I'm sure you've heard the expression emotional support animal. They are animals not just become family members, but they become things that can provide medical benefit to us. So relieving stress, relieving anxiety, lowering blood pressure, helping to cope with pain, whether it's from a particular treatment or chronic pain. Many examples of cats and dogs and other animals really providing physical and psychological benefits for the owners.
I know that we've done some stories on horses, and just being near a horse and petting a horse lowers blood pressure.
Yep.
I think that's great. And I know having a dog or a cat or a horse can do the same. And the emotional support side of this is tremendous. I have a friend who lives part-time in Vietnam half the year, and she has several rescues, and it's Lucky's become her emotional support dog. She hates being without him. There's a connection.
Absolutely. Once again, a lot of data that shows the specific benefits that they can provide, and just on a personal level, it just becomes sort of a way of life. You become used to having them in your life, and your world. They will evolve around your world, and vice versa.
And it's unconditional love from the dog to the person. You can, the stories, guys beat the dogs, but the dog still, does, goes back to his master, as if it's the dog's best friend, and it's unconditional love. So let's talk about somebody who has some form of dementia. They've had a dog, perhaps. Oh, you have they have some form of dementia. Maybe it's Alzheimer's. Can a living pet help with a senior's life?
Absolutely. So a couple of things there. First of all, many seniors choose not to have animals after a certain age because of the care burden associated with them. Caring for a live animal can be costly. The average American spends over $1,500 a year on a dog. But also the emotional burden, like you're sharing the story of your father and the passing of your childhood dog. We lost a family dog here last year, and it's terribly distressful. It's once again losing a family member. So the physical burden, the financial burden, and the emotional burden of caring for a live animal oftentimes becomes a choice not to have a live animal in the future, but they still have the positive associations that they had previously.
And hence you have developed the Tombot, which is a robotic dog. And I wanted to do a setup of having a pet, and now we have a robot dog, right?
Exactly. So for those seniors that can still safely and practically care for an animal and still choose to do so, a live animal in many cases is going to be a better situation than a robot substitute. But for those people that cannot safely or practically care for a live animal, many of them are left with a void in their lives, and it was really the spirit of that which sponsored Tombot.
And is this based on personal experience with a family member of your own?
It is. In 2011, my mother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and like the stories that you were sharing, I grew up with animals, and it was always my mother's doing. My dad was sort of indifferent to them, or at least pretended to be. But my mother was the animal person in the family. We had dogs, cats, ducks, geese, chickens, horses.
Wait, you grew up in Thousand Oaks, where I live now, and you had all those animals?
We were fortunate enough to have a little bit of extra property where they were zoned for horses, and we weren't willing to just have your ordinary run-of-the-mill house pets. We filled up the yard with all kinds of stuff, and it was an amazing childhood. I had a great time with that. People are always amazed that we would have so many animals in a relatively suburban area. And my mother, once again, she was the impetus to this. She became extremely attached to the animals, and so we became sort of the rescue center. If people had unwanted animals, they would oftentimes find their way to our house, and they would become just another pet for us. So it was integral to our way of life, having these animals. But in 2011, my mother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And by that time, she was starting to become a bit more reclusive. She was down to just one animal. At that time was a 2-year-old golden doodle, which she named Golden Bear. A beautiful dog with ordinarily a lovely disposition that she managed to train to be aggressive towards her caregiver. The caregiver would enter a room. The dog would growl protectively of my mother. My mom laughed and petted the dog, reinforcing the behavior, and pretty soon we had a problem.
Either the dog goes or the caregiver goes.
Yeah, well, my mom, that's the problem with dementia, whether it's Alzheimer's or one of the other causes, you're fully disabled by the time you can be diagnosed for that. So you need 24/7 care. And so the caregiver leaving was not going to be a solution. So unfortunately, the dog had to go. And that absolutely devastated my mother. She was, like all of her other pets, was terribly attached to her dog. And removing it left that void in her life that I started exploring to see what might be done about it.
And what is are you a robot designer? I know we're going to talk about how it was developed in a second, but has this been your livelihood, or are you?
Not robots specifically, but I've been in the high tech world since the mid '80s. So I'm a computer guy, software and hardware, and so the idea robots are simply computers that move. So it's not as if it's different technology that's inside them. So it was all very familiar to me, and so what we began doing is sort of experimenting to see what might be a viable substitute for a live animal, and not finding anything on the marketplace that we liked, decided to try to create some on our own.
And you did that with in cooperation with the Jim Henson Creature Shop.
We did. So there were several years of just getting education. It wasn't a full-time occupation. I was still working, but I started becoming.
You're working more now than you did before.
I'm definitely working now than I was before.
Yes.
Even though today is a work day, it's every day is a work day these days.
Of course, 7 days a week. Tom, we're gonna talk about the Jim Henson's Creature Shop in a moment when we come back. If you want information on this, go to tombot.com/puppies. Tombot.com/puppies. And of course, we're gonna have to ask the question that everybody wants to know: do these dogs, the Tombots, do they poop or not? We'll find out from Tom Stevens as Late Night Health continues. I'm Mark Alyn. Join us at latenightehealth.com, latenightehealth.com. Don't go away. We have lots more coming up with the Tombot. I want one. They're cute. We'll be back. Don't go away. There's a lot of talk all over the internet about the remarkable benefits of Carbon-60, and baby boomers are especially excited about it. Greska's Carbon-60 is the premium Carbon-60, developed by an aerospace and NASA scientist. 95% of Greska's customers report positive results from this Nobel Prize-winning technology in just 4 days. Imagine more energy, better health, and more vitality. It's very bioavailable to quickly mend toxin-crippled cells. This is a super powerful antioxidant. Bob Greska is so confident that you'll love his Carbon-60, he wants to send you a bottle at 50% off the regular price to see how life-changing this will be for you. Call 720-600-6040. That's 720-600-6040. Visit c-60.com to learn more. Call 720-600-6040 now or visit c-60.com. Recently, I met Jacqueline from Bright here in Los Angeles. She gave me a hearing exam and then showed me how to hear again with the new Signia Pure Series hearing aids, and she can give you your life back too. I hear birds chirping, birds cooing, and even my wife. They easily connect to my smartphone. The Signia hearing aids are amazing, and with the charge and go, I don't have to fiddle with batteries and hear all day long. Not hearing is frustrating for you and your family. I know you don't have a problem, but trust me, call Bright Here now for a free hearing exam, a $125 value, yours free, just for making an appointment now. There are offices throughout the Los Angeles area. Call Bright Here now at 323-424-7100. That's 323-424-7100 for a free hearing exam. There's no obligation. Call now, 323-424-7100, or visit them on the web at brighthere.com.